So morning again, morning again, morning again. In case you've just joined us, my name is Elise, and I'm going to be taking you through till 2 in the afternoon on the Bridge 99 FM. And again, we say Happy New Year. First time I'm getting a chance to tell the world Happy New Year. And of course, we trust the process. That's what we have to do. So remember, thanks for joining us on Untengle. And one thing for sure, we want you to remember, come as you are. Good morning, Mr. Brown.
Hi, good morning, Miss Kelly. How are you?
I am very well, thanks. How are you?
I am
Oh,
not
good afternoon. Sorry, you're
bad.
good.
Oh, yes, good afternoon.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. All right. Before we do anything else or ask you any other question, who is an animal nutritionist and what it is that you do?
Well, an animal nutrition is somebody who provides the best dietary requirements for your animals, no matter what class of animal it is. It could be from a cattle to a dog. What is it that I do? Well, I currently work for Hyper as a nutritionist in the field. So I visit different farms and guide these farmers on how best to feed their animals, which could be from a pasture-based diet and definitely complemented with our concentrate feed.
And
So that's my main activities for the day.
does that include domestic animals or, pets?
Well, not really. I more focus on ruminant nutrition, so I would focus on cattle, sheep, goat, but I kind of extend it across all livestock, so even pigs and chickens.
Okay.
But my specialization is for ruminants.
Okay. I found this very interesting because when I ask this question, it is really based on ignorance. Why are you feeding the animals with all this top quality food? Is it for the animals or is it for us who are going to eat the animal?
Oh, for one, well, it's really it's a matter of both. One, if you're a farmer, it's about productivity. So you definitely want the animal to be growing properly, and you want that quality product. And that quality product is as we the consumers, what we consume. So nobody wants a lamb or a goat that is meat that is tough and cannot be pressured properly. So nutrition can assist in that regard.
Okay, all right. And there are people who have livestock and it's really just okay, put it this way. Are there people who have livestock and it's really just for rearing animals and not for sale for meat?
Well, yes. A matter of fact, in goat production, you have what you call the showcase guys, where their main aim is to breed just for genetics and to show how the animal look when the animal is walking or just the appearance. So you normally see these farmers go to the annual Denby show and they will, showcase the animals to win a prize.
Right. I've seen that.
Yes, just like dog breeding where, they're looking for the best quality Shih Tzu or Pomeranian. Yes, we do have farmers just strictly for genetics, and it's a very lucrative market.
I hear you. And for example, you mentioned the goat farmers. Like, for example, those goat farmers who showcases the Rammy. They're very proud of that Rammy because that Rammy can just look so glorious. That Rammy also tough, too.
Yes, because it's not really for meat purpose. Okay. So it's more about getting that animal in looking the best. The animal must be round and shine. So that their main focus was to express the genetic that the animal have. So from the color to the size of the legs, to the how straight the back is, that is what they're really breeding for and feeding for.
Okay, I have another question for you. I know you studied in Israel, right? And all of that. But there are young people listening to you here now, and I'm curious. What kind of young person, what kind of you decides that this is what they want to do? Probably asking a question about yourself. How did you know that this is what you want to do?
Well, to be honest, it was more of a blessing in disguise. I can say both my mom and my auntie, Miss Clover Laguerre, was the one who kind of showed me agriculture to say this is a career choice you can have. And, I probably didn't like it at first, but when I got into it, I realized how interesting it is. I really have like a scientific nature. And agriculture really encompasses all the sciences. So you get to be exposed to all the fields from chemistry, biochemistry, biology, physics. And that kind of let me fell in love with agriculture. But I can say that it's also not just a career, but it's also a business opportunity. I don't think there's a lot of promotion of successful farmers. are successful farming services. Because it's not just about, raising animal or, planting some grass. You have services that you can provide to the sector that can make so much money. And that is what I learned while in this field for so much years now, that it's really a money-making opportunity, plus the benefits of looking at nature and that therapeutic feel from, rearing an animal or planting a product. So it really benefits your whole nature as a person once you're involved in this field.
I hear you. And I agree with you. I think they need to make farming and all different kinds of farming much more attractive for those coming in. And this is definitely one area that would excite the young, because it really is lucrative, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So how do you think this information that you having studied veterinary and animal science, how do you think that this information that you have would best serve your average farmer, particularly here in Jamaica?
What I've tried to do is to try to create a unique way for farmers to kind of learn best practices. I believe one of the issues that we have in the country is a support program for capacity building and technology transfer. And that is really one of my aims in the field, is really to show farmers that we can move from level 1 to level 5 just by doing best practices. And I can say I've seen great results just by some of the farmers that I've worked with who kind of listen to me. They have seen an increase in their production, so it's more meat or it's more milk, or just the overall business aspect to say, boy, they're getting more clientele based on this type of approach, looking at agriculture as a business than just as a hobby. And that is how I believe this study kind of helped me. There's a lot of deficiencies we face in Jamaica as farmers. And I think what I learned in Israel is what I believe I took probably the simplest solutions here that is easy for a farmer to adopt to enhance his production.
Wonderful.
That is really how it helps.
Wonderful. We're going to talk about your YouTube channel, but let us just ask a question based on what you just said a while ago. Are these farmers, first of all, how technologically savvy do these farmers have to be to benefit? And secondly, having benefited, are they using the information to enhance their brand?
That's a real good question. A problem that we face is definitely the uptake of that technology. But what I realize that it's probably sometimes our approach. My approach is to try to get at their level and use what they have in their surroundings so they can be innovative. And once they see that what they design themselves using my little knowledge, they like it more. Oh, Mr. Brown, I created this little new feed to feed my animal. Thanks to you, I learned that this and this grass work better. So they adopt that type of method. And to say that if I'm seeing if it benefits them, yes, it does, because at the end of the day, I try to ensure that it's related to a dollar value. So before I might be getting $500 per pound, using this technique, I can increase my price now because it's a more quality product, or the operational costs that they used to have to sell it at $500 are lower it so they can get more profit margin.
Wonderful.
That is my approach.
That's so very good. And this is why I particularly wanted to break down the whole thing. Animal nutritionist and veterinary and animal science. What does that translate to at the grassroots? So thank you very much for that. And if time allows, take me through one of your typical days going to a farm. Just an average farm.
Well, actually I'm on a farm right now. I'm in St. Elizabeth. I'm on Bogue's Dairy Farm. So it's an older farmer, but he's using cutting-edge technology to boost his production. So today he's having a problem with his animals backing off from the feed. There has been ingredient shortage. So my aim today is really to come down here, look at the mix, make recommendations to improve that ration, check some of the ingredients that he has and to see the quality of it, if that's one of the reasons why the animal backing off. Or we do what you call a transition feed. So we introduce this new feed slowly so the animals can acclimatize. Then I'll just go and look at the animals, what you call body condition, how much bones am I seeing to see if the feed is actually working. I'll look at the milking process. So I'm about to do that after this interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me not hold you up, but I still need more information. So you have created a channel. So let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. Was this channel created with all of what you said before in mind to actually touch base with some of the farmers to give them, better ideas, more upgraded ideas as to how to deal with their brand?
Yes, no doubt. When I was working with the government, I was with the research and development. And, research is not really, what you could say, popular. It takes a lot of money, and the results are sometimes slow. But then the problem that we see, even though we got promising results from probably say this experiment, to transfer that information from the research stage to the farmer was where we had a problem. So I believe that I wanted to create a new age. Well, it's not really new, because a lot of farmers do it already online, but I was saying we also wanted the one that fit the local farmer, a farmer in Jamaica or in the region. So that was really my approach, to say, hey, I'm going to help these goat farmers by creating a channel that everybody can relate to. So my videos were more based on what the average farmer faces. So I just go in the inner city. So I might be in Vineyard Town and this he raise animals and you see his conditions, and I go out into the rural community to show you the different landscape and how is it that they have to survive in this type of in doing this type of production. And I think that really worked, because the farmer from the inner city would know, I have to go and find pieces to cut grass, or I can buy grass from here. The guy in the rural community knew him have the grass, but he might have to construct a house to can benefit from the stray dogs that might hurt his animals out there. So that was my approach, and I've seen significant benefits from that. Our farmers just changing their whole idea or concept about sheep or goat rearing, and they're taking it to a next level. Especially young farmers. I think young farmers love to see themselves on YouTube also, because they get, it give them a little popularity, and then it's no longer, I don't want to be a goat farmer anymore. But hey, goat farming is pretty cool. It makes money, and everybody wants to see them have a side hustle. So it really, I see it working. It really has developed a little traction out there. And I get calls from all over, from the region, Trinidad, Grenada, from the UK, from the US, as in persons who want to come back home and looking for a business, and they might have land, and they're saying, Khalil, I like what you're doing, so help me, guide me to probably set up my uncle or my cousin in starting this, so I can come back home and know have a little business turning for me.
Khalil, this sounds so exciting. And this is why sometimes we really have to delve, take a deeper dive into certain subjects that on the surface may not sound as exciting. But talking to you here now, it just sounds just so exciting. So you just spoke a while ago about being on a farm. So let us say I have a farm, right? A small farm. And I would like you to visit my farm. Is that possible, or how would I go about that?
Well, all you have to do is really reach out to me. You can either, I'm all over on social media, Facebook, Instagram, FarmerKhalil, YouTube, FarmerKhalil. Or you can also call, even where I work, Hypro, and ask to talk to Khalil, and they will give you my contact number. And I really just try to fit farmers into my schedule based on what the plan is like. There are some key clients that I have to visit, but I basically work right throughout the week, even on a Sunday. I'll go and visit any little small farmer up in the hills, and we just sit down, we work together, we do some hands-on practices or some simple training. So it's that easy. You just have to reach out to me on any of my platforms, and we'll set a date and I'll come and visit you.
All right. What about that young farmer who wants to move his farm from point A to point B, but he just does not have the money or the wherewithal? Can he check you and ask you what is the best way for source some investments or that kind of thing, source some funding, that kind of thing?
No doubt. What I'm trying to do is trying to build a network to assist, especially young farmers. It's very important. I think for agriculture, not the banks and investors look at it as a high risk, so we have a problem with getting funding. But we have found unique ways to do it. So, for example, I visited a young guy named Kaim up in Stonehill. Him have a small little pen. Young guy, he's about 14-year-old. Yeah. And I showcased him on my YouTube vlog. And somebody from overseas saw it, and they call and say, hey, Khalil, I want to help that individual. And they sent money to construct a goat house for him. So it creates these avenues. If not, I will, talk to one of my friends, because at my age now, you have persons who work in the bank, or, they work for some grant up agency, And I would try to put them on to these persons to see what kind of assistance they can get. And even for the government, I really try to piggyback with RADA and 4-H to see how we can help these farmers. Because 4-H have a lovely REAP program that giving farmers, young farmers, a startup. I think it's $100,000. They help you with a business plan. They give you $100,000 to start up, and they get assistance from the private sector. Hyper definitely supports them in that regard. We're giving them feed or chickens to start up. So I definitely try to look out for these programs for them and connect them to these support agencies.
Excellent information. And can I tell you, I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice. I know this is something that you love. So you are now FarmerKhalil.
Yes, FarmerKhalil.
Okay. Who calling you that? The farmers that you visit or the people who you work with?
Well, farmers who are visit, they will say, "Hey, FarmerKhalil, how things going?" So it just turn it into a little brand name to see how it would work out. And because my last name is Brown, you have a lot of Farmer Brown.
Yes, for real.
I could work. Farmer Brown seems so cliche. So.
For real. If you ever put that on social media, man, it will be like searching for Mr. Chin in China. But anyway,
yes.
Anyway, remind us of your social media information. How can anyone who wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you on social media particularly?
So I'm on Instagram as FarmerKhalil. I'm also on TikTok as FarmerKhalil and on YouTube as FarmerKhalil. On Facebook, I'm Khalil Agritech Brown. But there's also a FarmerKhalil page that you can just type in on Google and you'll definitely find me on there.
I'm so happy that I spoke to you because it is my opinion that this is what this industry needs. It needs young, bright, attractive men like yourself who actually investing, earning, doing well to actually encourage young people because, you're not going to encourage young people by not necessarily going to encourage young people by first of all, not being on social media and then showing them pictures of you on a donkey. I love donkeys. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is the kind of image that young people want to see because they want to see them can earn in this space.
Yes. I agree with you. So recently I was appointed the chairperson for the 4-H AgroVet Council. So it's an 11-member team of young persons, and our aim is to lobby the government to see how that we can get more youth involved in agriculture. So, and that's on our forefront, to change the image, to showcase the business model that works. So they would just see not only the monetary benefit, no doubt, but how is it that it can benefit their overall life just getting involved in this type of business. But that's our aim, to really change the image, to show them where the money is at. And I think that would help. That would get more young persons involved.
I am positive. And for those who are listening and hearing the name Khalil, spell it for us.
It's Khalil.
Okay, so if you're going on social media, that's the Khalil you're asking for. Khalil. Wonderful talking with you. And let me just tell you something. Myself and my producer Vaughn, these are some of the conversations we have off the air. We really want to show people other areas that you can really put your energy in and earn, because the space that I'm in, everybody want to be a singer and a DJ, and everybody cannot sing, as we found.
Yeah, that's so true.
So it's very, very good that we have people like you who can show them that there are other avenues that's fun, because it sounds like fun to me, and also lucrative. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Most welcome. So that's Mr. Khalil Brown, and he is a high pro division animal nutritionist, and his discipline is actually veterinary and animal science. And you heard him just untangle what that means and how relevant it is in today's world, and we really do give thanks for that. So we're going to take a break. We soon come. As we enter in this new year, there are just so many things that we have to think about, so many things we have to condition our minds towards, so many things we don't know. But here is just something that can inspire. Hopefully it does. And it says, in this 2022, I hope you live louder. I hope you laugh more. I hope you sing at the top of your lungs. And I'm adding whether you can actually sing or not. I hope you drive with the windows down and let the wind rustle through your hair. I hope you hug. I hope you kiss, if you can, as we observe social distance. This right long time, right in 2022. But anyway, I hope you surround yourself with people who make you feel alive. I hope you become the type of person that brings good energy wherever you go, and the type of person or the type of people or the type of person people want to be around. I hope you speak what's on your mind, that you raise your voice for injustice, that you tell others that you actually love them instead of waiting until it's too late. I hope you live louder, shine brighter, and I hope you do it this year. We really have to improve our self-esteem, because sometimes you just listen to this song and it happens to the best of us. It's not really just a certain woman kind of thing. I'm telling you, men suffer from that too, because women will spend their entire day doing everything to look beautiful for the one they love, and the one they love loves them exactly as they are. And we can testify that too with the sisters. Sometimes the brothers them pump up themselves and them carry on, and why you doing that? Is it for me? Yeah, man, because nothing. Because I love you just like all you is. No chest and all these wonderful things. No, that is the person that we really love. So you go pump up yourself now and look like somebody else, and we wonder who that, because it's not the somebody that we fell in love with. So it's the very same thing. Sometimes we just have to be comfortable with the way that we look, because the person who truly loves us is going to love us as we are. Good afternoon, Beauregard. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mama Kelly. How is everything? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you also. You good?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm here enjoying the warmer day. Yesterday was very, very much freezing.
Oh,
it was freezing. It was freezing here in New York City yesterday, and it's a little bit warmer today. So I give thanks for that.
Okay, but still cool.
Yes, it's cold same way.
Okay.
Cold. We really feel the winter weather now, because last week it was some warm weather that we were experiencing. So now it looked like the winter really ready for kick in.
I've heard many people saying that from various states, different states. That,
yes.
It took a little while for the winter to actually kick in, it seems, right?
Yes. Yes. It's been very warm. So now, really I get some winter weather. We might have a longer winter than we expected.
Okay, because of the late start.
Yes.
Okay, so I just got this from Sin a while ago, and it says Andrew Cuomo won't be prosecuted for allegedly groping a female farmer aide. I'm sure you have more about that.
Yes, the district attorney in Westchester County decided not to press charges against the former governor of New York City, saying that they were unable to prove, the allegations against him, and they're not going forward with it at all. So.
Okay. Well.
That's something we were watching. I was saying that they're not gonna actually, go forward with the case at the time that they charged him with, and it proved to be true. That's the outcome of it.
You were saying so because of who he is, or because of insufficient evidence?
I was saying the case came out of left field, basically, just to speak, honestly, and just looking at how they were going about it. I was saying to myself that something is up. In the long run, they might not prosecute this man.
Okay, I hear you. Well, that's yes. That, and we're over that. So is there anything else that there's not much happening our side apart from the same old? Oh, let's hear yours. Let's hear your story.
Well, it's the same thing here for me, sister. There's a lot of cancellation of flights that's happening. COVID and Omicron is the cause of this. Since the Christmas holidays, a lot of people have been stranded, whether you're trying to get back into the United States. There are no people in Jamaica who are trying to get here, and they haven't been able to get here yet. People are trying to leave the United States, go to Europe and other places, and they are unable to because of the shortages of staff, and also the fact that there was some winter weather that caused major problems in places like Denver and also in Chicago, canceling thousands of flights. Yesterday alone, there were 3,000 flights that were canceled in the United States. So it's hard to, make up and reschedule and put people on flights with people who were previously scheduled, and, just to keep it running. It's really hard. So we're not sure how people are going to get home now. Some people are trying to drive, I don't know how people who live outside of the country are going to handle it, but hopefully they'll get back to it sooner than later. We're now seeing that the subway lines are also being suspended. Some subway lines in New York City will be suspended for the rest of this week because of staff shortages. So the COVID-19 is really taking effect once again, as it did earlier this year. Things that we saw in January, they're starting to happen again in January of 2022. And also, speaking on COVID, the CDC, they announced that, if you're asymptomatic, you can return to work, and they have lowered the quarantine time for people who are asymptomatic, which mean, you could go to work if you have COVID-19. I guess that's what they're saying, but if you're not vaxxed, you can't go to work. But if you have COVID-19, you can go work. I'm trying to make sense of it.
I'm trying
to make sense of it.
So if you have COVID-19 and you're vaccinated, you can go back to work.
Yeah. If you have it and you're not showing any symptoms, they say it's okay to go to work.
But if
you're not vaxxed.
Oh God, this is getting more complicated.
If you are vaxxed and you are asymptomatic, you can go to work. But if you are not vaxxed and you don't have no symptoms or anything, you still can't go to work.
So if you have COVID-19 but you're not showing any symptoms, if you're vaccinated, you can go to work.
Yes.
But if you're not vaccinated and don't have COVID-19, you can't go.
You can't go work. You have to get vaccinated first.
Okay, I hear you. Look here, now, my
There's
friend.
even a...
my friend. No, look here. Okay. So
it's getting stranger and stranger.
It is getting stranger. So because if you're asymptomatic, you can still spread the virus. But if you don't have COVID, you can't spread it.
Right. And even in Israel now, Israel is reporting a rare case of a double infection. This was in the New York Post, and they're saying it's COVID and flu, and they're calling it the flu Rona.
I hear you.
That was on the front page of the newspaper.
Look here, so we're going to have a talk.
Flu Rona.
What, flu Rona?
Flu Rona.
Yeah, you see, if somebody intellectual property that you stay there. Hey.
I'm telling you.
You stay there. And there's the whole thing there, somebody own that name there, and you have to go pay them for.
Yes, absolutely. And, speaking of this is sad news also that we're reporting that, a fully vaccinated Calypsonian artist by the name of Kenny J died from COVID-19 on Sunday at the age of 69. Now, Kenny J is a very popular Trinidadian Calypsonian artist. And, he was recently seen on TV advertising and encouraging citizens to get vaccinated. Unfortunately, he passed away on Sunday from COVID-19, and he was fully vaccinated.
Sad. Very, very sad. Because, what I was saying to some friends, I'm going to have a talk with a doctor, but when what I want you to do for me, Beauregard, I'm going to have a talk with a doctor, right? And
yes.
he has some controversy around him. But what we really want to be talking about is his early home-based treatment of COVID-19 and the fact that if you catch it early, you stand a better chance, whereas if you wait till it's too late, the chances get slimmer. So what I would like you to do is to listen into the conversation, and if there is anything that you think that you need to ask this gentleman, please write down that question, and while he's on air, we're going to try to see if we can make that link. All right?
No problem.
All right, so we're ready now. We're going to be having this conversation with Dr. Roger Hunter, and he is a consultant neurosurgeon. So we have him live online. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners.
Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for joining us on Untengle on the Bridge 99 FM.
Yeah, hello. Good to be here. Good to be here with you.
Okay, my first question to you is one that you've been asked repeatedly, but I for the benefit of our listeners here on the Bridge, I'm going to ask it again because it's a valid question, and I would like to hear your response in this forum. And the question is, why should we be hearing from you, a neurosurgeon?
Well, all neurosurgeons are doctors.
Right.
Every one of them are doctors. There's no neurosurgeon who's not a medical doctor. First, you're a medical trained doctor, then you specialize if you so choose. But even general medicine is a specialty as well. You will agree with me, COVID has affected everybody. So it behoves every specialty in medicine to have competence and knowledge in COVID. One specialty alone can't handle this wave. So some colleagues, of course, have chosen not to treat COVID and to back away, say it's new and nobody knows about it before, and etc. Some say, but we have had a different view. This is actually a national crisis. When you see people dying on the floor in a hospital, totally because of system failure, then I think this is the time for not to ask if you are able, but ask why not.
I hear you because we go to our family doctors and they're not virologists. They're just medical practitioners, and we really hope that they will use their expertise to help us to get around the questions that we have. So I
Absolutely.
I get your point.
Absolutely right. And remember, once you're a clinician simply applies the knowledge of medicine to the treatment of patients. You may find some virologists do not treat patients. In fact, many do not. They just stay in the lab and examine and grow the viruses and then give the information to the clinicians who work with the patients at the bedside. So it's important understanding that the person who is willing to be beside you and to treat you in COVID, that's the sort of person you need.
I hear you. We're going to be talking about that later on, because one of your suggestions is to make sure as people, within the space, that we actually have a number of a doctor, because
absolutely,
yeah. Okay, so
it is a national crisis and a bit of a stain on the conscience of the nation.
I get you. I really do get you. So we're going to take a break, but you see, before this is going to be one of the only breaks. But before we take this break, we're going to use the limited time that we have, Doctor, to talk specifically about your suggestions for early home-based treatment of COVID-19. So
we're experience sharing, and I'm more than happy to engage with you and your listeners.
Absolutely. So we're going to take the break, and then when we come back, that's where our focus is going to be. All right? We have with us Dr. Roger Hunter, and I invite our listeners to really listen up, especially in light of the inability of public and private hospitals to cope with the volume of COVID patients. We are hearing from Dr. Roger Hunter about the benefits of early home-based treatment. So the next question is a simple one, Doctor.
Yes.
What are the early symptoms of this virus?
Simple. It's just like any other upper respiratory virus. Runny nose, itching. I have a patient just now actually attending with. I had to step away. He had sore throat, itching, pain, a fever lasting a day or two. Sometimes with the fever, you get a headache, and you feel tired and weak. Yeah. Sometimes you have tummy pain, upset, vomiting, sometimes diarrhea. But it usually starts with like itching at the back of the throat, back of the nose. And perhaps contextually, you are in a gathering or somebody who you're around somebody who had it. So it's primarily upper respiratory symptoms. It can progress to cough, a dry cough, and sometimes a productive cough. If it goes on, the cough may go from white to clear, from clear to white to yellow, usually bubbly and frothy. Yes.
Oh, okay. So it seems to me that there's no way of knowing in the early stages if it's just a flu or if it's COVID. So if I'm having...
You can't tell that. It's only the tests. Clinical bedside, you can only presume, because if there's a pandemic or epidemic or outbreak, then you do what's called a working diagnosis. So if anybody who has those symptoms in the context of an outbreak, we operate within that framework. Now, this is COVID likely until laboratory confirmed or proven otherwise.
Okay. All right. So if I'm having these symptoms and I suspect it may be COVID related,
treatment immediately. Immediately. So what do we say by that? So we have oral hygiene, floss, brush your teeth. Make sure your mouth is absolutely clean and regimented oral hygiene. You want to also do steaming with menthol crystals. I prefer menthol crystals. Other people prefer eucalyptus oil or peppermint or something that will give that minty high smell in the throat, and you must steam at least for half an hour to 45 minutes because it will take a while for the steam to get down into your lungs, not just to the back of your nose or your throat. It must go deeper. Of course, everybody must have a pulse oximeter, which is an oxygen meter to measure your oxygen levels. We recommended this last year to the nation and to the CMO, and we are recommending it again to the nation that every family in the world must have a finger pulse oximeter in their house. And certainly also recommend to your listeners and the world that they go onto YouTube and look at early home-based COVID treatment conferences on YouTube. There are 7 of them, early home-based COVID treatment conferences, Jamaica. You'll see a well put together 7 conferences showing you how to treat COVID early, and also first-hand testimonials of people who had COVID, were treated early, and have recovered from COVID and have natural immunity. So we say early treatment matters, and the earlier you start, the better. Even whilst you wait your COVID test, which you're inclined to do, by all means, go ahead and do it. But even as you wait your COVID test, you must start treatment. COVID test can be negative today, negative tomorrow, negative Thursday, and then on Friday it's positive.
Okay.
I've seen people with 4 negative tests, and then the 5th test is positive. But all this time they had COVID. So it's important not to wait, not to delay treatment. Early treatment matters. And you must all have a contact number. I've made my number available to your listeners, 361-2686, 361-2686, 876. And you can go to Early Home-Based COVID Treatment Conferences Jamaica on YouTube. We ask all your listeners to go there, be empowered, be COVID competent, and go with champions. Please click on the subscribe if you may, and share and like.
Okay.
It is a treasure trove of information, freely available to the nation, to the world, to your listeners, to the diaspora, everywhere. Early home-based COVID treatment Jamaica conferences.
All right, let's go slowly for the benefit of our listeners. You mentioned an instrument a while ago that you said most people should own.
Finger pulse oximeter. Every pharmacist now have heard the cry, and they pretty much have this available. Usually the price ranges from $3,000 to $5,000. I've heard up to $8,000, but you shouldn't really pay more than $5,000 for your pulse oximeter. You can also get on Amazon or eBay, and they will ship it in for you.
Okay, that sounds like it's actually less than a COVID test. So
absolutely less than PCR test, and definitely less than antigen test.
All right. Before we move past steaming, you seem to suggest that we should be hydrating before steaming. Why?
Absolutely, because steaming, of course, if you dehydrated and you steam, then that can make you feel faintish and lower your blood pressure. We don't want that to happen. And as you steam, you sweat, you evaporate, and it is heat hitting your body. So you have to pre-hydrate as well. Very important that we all hydrate. And that will also help to loosen up the secretions deep inside, especially if you had that dry cough and secretions are not coming up. Once you start to pre-hydrate and steam, then you'll start to bring up the things that you didn't realize are there. I had a good friend of mine, a contractor engineer yesterday. He was saying, no, I had a dry cough. When he told me what he coughed up, he could not believe it himself, that he had all of this yellow, thick muck stuff inside. As a lot of people are city dwellers, you're bound to have emissions, exhaust being inhaled, and that was going to lead to accumulation of soot inside all airways, which bacteria love. So the damage is done by the virus. The bacteria then set in with these toxic soot, and then you get your yellow, thick sputum, which inevitably leads to a fever. And for those cases, they need antibiotics if the fever does not go away. And
by hydration is specifically referring to water?
I would think balanced solution. It could be Lucozade, Gatorade, coconut water. If you're diabetic, you have to be guided. Plain tap water. Jamaica's water is one of the safest in the entire world, so you can feel free to drink Jamaica's tap water.
Okay. We're always being told, obviously, to guard our hygiene, wash hands, and keep our hands clean. You insist on oral hygiene.
Oral hygiene, absolutely crucial. The mouth is like an entrance to our soul, to our health, our well-being. Yes, rotten teeth can kill you. Rotten teeth can cause stroke. Rotten teeth can cause a heart attack. And certainly poor oral hygiene causes increased viral load inside your mouth. And remember, it has been shown that the COVID virus enters through the lining of your mouth, through the gingiva, through your gum. So if you can keep your mouth clean and sanitized regularly, that will reduce the amount of virus that can be injected into your system, into the bloodstream, but also reduces how much you can expel to those around you. So with regimented oral hygiene, which I practice and I've given to my patients, we've had excellent success, and hardly anyone have picked up COVID treating someone at home with regimented oral hygiene.
So the same regularity with which you wash your hands, you must actually clean your mouth.
Not necessarily, because you wash your hands perhaps a bit more, depending, but certainly you should be brushing, floss, brush, and gargle 3 times a day at least, after every meal, certainly before going to bed at night, and certainly rising in the morning, and then throughout the day.
Okay.
Even though people are at home, working from home, perhaps that's extended, we recommend that you take a break and attend to your oral hygiene in a midday about now, perhaps after lunch.
Okay.
Very, very crucial. But rotten teeth causes stroke. I've operated on patients with pus in the brain from rotten teeth, and it can cause a heart attack. The oral health is crucial.
Very interesting point.
Health.
Very interesting point. I'm sure many of us have overlooked that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Doc, you have also contracted COVID.
Yes, and the Omicron, I'm sure.
Okay. Are you treating COVID patients?
Absolutely. With majority of patients we treat, this is a national crisis. The positivity rate is now almost 50%. So you can imagine that your listeners, many of your listeners, are now dealing with the fifth wave of COVID. So of course we have to help.
Okay.
Our treatment online, virtually, is completely free. If you have to come in and get infusions at wherever, then at your home, then certainly that would attract the cost for the medication, etc.
Right.
But we certainly encourage people to go online, go on the Early Home-Based COVID Treatment Conference, YouTube. They're there, they're freely available. If doing this home-based management is not giving you good results, then you may need to come in for an infusion, some antibiotics, some ivermectin, some steroids, and that usually is enough. What I have found is the Omicron version is much, much milder, several folds milder than the Delta and the original COVID.
Is that right? Okay.
Absolutely true. Absolutely right. And the South Africans have shown us that.
All right. So, what has been your success rate of those who you have treated with the early home-based treatment?
Well, let's start right now with the Omicron, 100%. Nobody at all. We've treated close to 100 now with Omicron, directly and indirectly.
Here in Jamaica?
Right here in Jamaica.
So
and
that
overseas,
means Omicron
in Cayman, in Liverpool, in all over the world.
So it means that Omicron is definitely here in Jamaica?
Absolutely. Absolutely it's here in Jamaica. There's no doubt. There's never any doubt. I remember, the authorities usually have a delay in announcing it.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it's there. Remember, chickpea and chickpea, 6 months were, so we don't worry about that. People are coming to the clinicians, the doctors who are willing to treat the COVID clinicians, and we are seeing the cases. We saw the lull going down, and now we're seeing the surge again. But this surge is several-fold milder, and people are logging on to the message of early home-based COVID treatment. They're no longer flooding to the hospitals in fear, waiting and isolating and watching. They are staying at home if necessary and treat. Early treatment matters.
Okay. Personally, there's a lot that I don't understand about vaccines. We're hearing now that if you have been vaccinated and if you are not showing signs of COVID, even if you have COVID, you can go out to work. But if you have not been vaccinated and you don't have COVID, you can't go out to work. Help us now, Do.
That's an irony, and I leave it for the Prime Minister and his authorities to answer.
No, this is overseas, actually. It is not here. Not here. I'm just trying to understand the logic.
Venture, it is, well, let me just give you simple advice for want of a happy life. Do not try to understand the logic with what has been applied to COVID. Simple example, the country in the West Indies, in the Caribbean, with the lowest COVID burden is a country with the least COVID measures, the least vaccinated. I think they only have about 700 COVID deaths, if that much, and there are 11 million people. Those figures are immaculate.
Interesting. But however, are you suggesting that the early home-based treatment for COVID-19 sufferers
is the only way?
Right, but
the only way.
But how
nowhere in the world can manage without early treatment because too many people in society are directly affected. There's no health system in the world that can deal with their millions in their hospital. It was always doomed to fail.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear you loud and clear. Okay, so your thought on vaccines outside of what you just said a while ago?
Well, vaccines are something. I am more vaccinated than 99.99% of Jamaicans. I am hepatitis against chicken pox, against vaccination against the flu in the past. It didn't really work. I have a host of vaccines as a healthcare provider. I am well vaccinated. The flu vaccine has been around from the 1930s. It has never come into the same category as the polio, as the hepatitis, because it just does not provide that level of protection. It doesn't have those figures. We certainly encourage for those who are minded to make themselves available of the COVID vaccines if there are no contraindications or no misgivings on their part. Mm-hmm. But having said that, remember, if you are fully vaccinated and boosted again, you still need early treatment. There's nothing in the vaccine that will stop a virus from going into your nose. That was never going to be the case.
Interesting. So you're actually saying that vaccines don't really stop you from getting COVID? So
it absolutely does not. It reduces the amount of people who have died and reduce the amount of people who ended up hospitalized based on the figures. Certainly, if we use the UK as a good example and compare it against mainland Europe, we can see the UK's figures are much better. But compared to Jamaica, our figures are 4 times better than the UK.
All right.
4 times. Scotland has 10 million, over 10,000 COVID cases with a population of 5 million. Jamaica, 2.7 million and 2,000 cases. It's just no comparison. Jamaica's figures are far better. And when you come to some African countries, their figures are even better. So we don't need to, there's so many examples how we could frame it. What we need is early treatment. Empowering Jamaicans. Every home must have a pulse oximeter. Every home must have a scale. Diabetes is our number one killer. Majority of Jamaicans who died in 2020, it's the same thing that killed them in 2021, and diabetes mellitus. Jamaica's number one killer by far. Half of all COVID cases were in association with diabetes mellitus. So what's the message should be? Go out, exercise, get sunshine, lose weight, look after our structural, underlying, foundational health. Mm-hmm. Control your weight, control your sugar, control your diabetes, control your cholesterol. It is not the time to only run to the doctor when you're sick. Go to the doctor when you're well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about strong immune system and the part that plays in lessening your chances of contracting the virus.
Central. An immune system is absolutely essential to health. Not just about COVID, but cancer, but for other infections. Absolutely crucial. So our immune system needs boosting, and the natural boosters we have. The sunshine out there, making vitamin D. Excellent. We're talking about fresh air. We're talking about fresh fruits. Exercising regularly. Good mental health. If we are depressed and sad and lonely and locked in, we know that will produce a lot of bad hormones that will weaken our immune system. Mm-hmm. Good laughter is good medicine. So try and laugh. It is important. This is not a laughing matter.
No pun intended.
I am serious.
Okay.
Very important, really.
I hear you. And those of us who are reading past what our doctor is telling us recognize the importance of, as you said before, mental health, how you feel about yourself, your well-being, and how great a part that plays in contracting diseases. So
ball it out. Tell people this is not the time to sit there in your corner and say you're nursing COVID. Oh, it's not COVID, it's not no ball out of COVID. Tell everyone.
Yes.
Get rid of the stigma and let's get on with the business of living life. And helping each other, being empowered.
Doctor, this kind of message that you are bringing to us here now is not necessarily the kind of message that we are hearing. We are only hearing that we must be vaccinated. So my question to you is, does this message that you bring up, early home-based treatment, home-based treatment, how well does it sit with your colleagues?
I think you have to ask them as a philosophical question. But a lot of my colleagues, I see they're no longer just saying vaccines and vaccines are going to be the end. like perhaps what was uttered last year, the year before. They're now seeing, we need to look at what is called early home care or early intervention. And we're seeing the minister now saying instead of just watching, you are now to intervene early. So we are seeing a change in understanding and utterances.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that everyone really needs to have a competent physician who they can, yes. So, trust me, I'm perhaps one of the few people, I'm not quite sure, whose doctor is probably even more radical than you. But
really?
Yeah, man. But anyway, we're streaming live as we speak to the tri-state
Hello, everyone.
area. So
right, it's cold up there. It's winter there, so please remember your vitamin D for this time of the year. Your sunshine is low. We know for 6 months of the year you need to be on your vitamin D supplements, vitamin D, E, and C, and K calcium D. I mean, I lived in the winter for eight winters or 9 winters. I know what it is like. My heart bleeds and goes out to you. I know what black ice is. Trust me, it's not easy, but you have to take your supplements for 6 months for those. Right now, we're in sunny Jamaica, 30 degree, mild, 28 degrees Celsius. That's where our tourism product is always strong and sells itself.
Right. Okay, so my colleague Beauregard is actually listening. He's in New York. He just told us how cold it was in New York, and the entire Jam family is listening from the tri-state. Beauregard, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here, Queen.
Is there anything that you would like to ask Dr. Hunter?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, Dr. Hunter.
Good afternoon, my friend. Always a big apple.
Blessings. Well, it's here, we're trying to make sure the COVID doesn't take another bite out of it.
Absolutely. Early home-based conferences. Log on to YouTube, early home-based conference. We have people from New York who participated in them all over America. Invite your colleagues 1 to 7 to listen to them. Log in, please click subscribe and let it go viral.
I will. Here's a question that I'd like to ask you. You said about the itchy nose and the throat and sneezing and things of that nature.
Yes.
Is COVID the very first diagnosis that they're going with?
In the setting of a working diagnosis, it has to be. Not the only one, but certainly the first one. So if you're somebody with itchy nose, you're going to naturally think that way, especially if you have a massive surge. And that's reasonable. But it's not reasonable to stop thinking there. It is certainly not reasonable. Certainly, if you start your early interventions, your oral hygiene, brush, floss, Listerine, steaming, and if you see a good response, fine, then chances are it might have been COVID or a trivial allergy. But if it's not responding, then it could mean that you have developed a secondary bacterial infection. And remember, COVID, what kills people is not the virus itself, it's the bacterial infections that follow the viruses and cause overwhelming infections. As in 1980, when there was no penicillin and you had 50 million people died. This in 2021, 22, we have antibiotics and only 5 million people died. A world of a difference. Antibiotics are crucial.
Okay.
And when it comes to early home-based treatment, how often do you suggest that we steam? Like how often a week?
I would imagine you should be steaming daily, going in and out. If you have to work on the subways, in London, you're on the tube, in Canada, in metro, whatever, you got to be in and out. You go in and out, you steam as you go in and steam for half an hour, and you'll be amazed how refreshing, and you sleep better as well. If you can steam at night before going to bed, you may sleep better. Be careful not to burn yourselves. So I'd say if you can manage it daily, with mental, about 3, 4, 5, as much as you can manage mental crystals in the hot water.
And Doc,
cover your head. And I said the YouTube conferences will show early home-based treatment conferences Jamaica. You can see examples of how steaming is done.
Let me ask you this though, Doc. This steaming should be done whether you're feeling symptoms or not?
Good questions. I think it is something it's a lifestyle wellness. You're radical, so yes, it's a wellness tool. So you can use it even if you have no symptoms. You can use it as a cleaning out of your ear passages. And remember, it goes where you can't brush. It goes up into your frontal sinus, in your forehead, in your nose, in your in the maxillary antrum. It goes all over. The steam is a wonderful thing, and it can help to open up our airway. So I certainly recommend it, whether you're having symptoms or not.
Doc, we have run out of time, but I just want to I just want to thank you so very much, because in that limited time, we have learned so much from you. I am particularly happy that we got a chance to talk to you, because of the fact that the public and some private hospitals can't cope with the volume or won't cope with certain people if you're not vaccinated or whatever. So this is valuable information, and I thank you.
You're most welcome. Pleasure having you. Let's go out and be COVID competent, COVID champions. Log on to the early home-based COVID treatment conferences, Jamaica, the 7 of them, 1 to 7, that we held last year. The last one was just in December. Please, listeners, everyone, click on subscribe, share to your friends, let it go all over the world, and listen to the conferences. Yes, they're long. They're 4 hours. Listen to the testimonials. The best things are at the end. Please log on and listen, click, share, and subscribe.
Thanks
Freely
again.
available.
Thanks again.
You're most welcome.
Have a wonderful afternoon. You're most welcome. Okay, so that's valuable information. I'm very happy that we got this chance to talk with the doctor, Dr. Hunter. Your thoughts, Beauregard?
Very, very interesting, Mama Elise, to say the least. Some of the things that he was saying. But one thing that really stood out to me was, here I am after 2 years trying to figure out this whole COVID thing. And, the good doctor says, don't try to understand the logic.
I'm not figure it out neither. Trust me, that struck me as very strange. But
oh, man.
It's very interesting, because it would have take somebody with a different kind of brain to figure it out, because it's just not logical. So it would take somebody who can figure out things that are logical, especially because of the news where you just gave us a while ago, Beauregard.
Absolutely.
That's how the one will not make no sense, Virgin. No, trust me.
A lot of things, but I choose to say, it just frustrates me, and I leave it there.
Yes, it frustrates Doctor. And he leave it there. Trust me, yes, my brother. Why?
Oh,
anyway, it's good that we can have this kind of information. A little bit revolutionary,
yes.
but still,
yes.
going along in a responsible way. And I'm really hoping that we can have more conversations like this as we go along.
True indeed. We need it.
Absolutely.
We need to hear from the professionals, and put the information together and figure it out.
Yes. Okay, so let's see what we have here. One of our listeners says, Elise, it would be nice to have someone from the MOH to discuss testing, vaccines, preventative measures to give people a better understanding or overstanding and clear up misconceptions. Don't know if it's possible to do, but just a suggestion. Give thanks. And then it says, why aren't vaccines free in Jamaica? Not free in Jamaica. Okay, we're going to take a break now. We're going to take a break. We soon come. All right. So our listeners responding very well to that interview. I got you. Empress K says, bless up the good doctor. And my sister says, going to floss right now. I like him. He makes sense as he opens up another avenue. Eliminating some of the fear, helping us to understand that if we can just realize that the earlier we start the treatment, the better. That make a whole heap of sense. And we'll be keeping in touch, and we'll definitely be trying to get information that is not readily out there, but not conspiracy theories, just information that just makes sense, which is what the good doctor gave us a while ago. Information that just makes sense.
Hi, this is Butcher Banton. You're tuned to Sister Elise Kelly on Bridge 99 FM.
Once again, we want to say thank you very much to Dr. Roger Hunter, consultant neurosurgeon with over 20 years practice in the field of neurosurgery in Jamaica and the United Kingdom. We want to say thank you very much to Mr. Khalil Brown for that very interesting conversation. That's Mr. Brown from the High Pro Division, Animal Nutritionist, whose discipline is veterinary and animal science. And we found out so much about the science, and he had so much information to give to the farmers. So that's FarmerKhalil. Thank you very much for the information that you shared.